Welcome to today's webinar. I'm very, very happy to welcome you. And some of you, I know we have seen each other before in webinars or in trainings. I see a lot of alumni here that I'm always happy to meet you again, apart from our alumni activities that we have on the campus. And also, of course, hello for everybody who is new to this format. I'm Andrea Hartmann. I'm the director of the International Mediation Campus. And I want to start with the reflection that when we saw each other, maybe 3 weeks ago, I think we had our last webinar, the world was a different place. And in this last few weeks, we have seen how quickly a constructive conversation can turn into a hardened dialogue and then really unexpected, I think, for all of us, into war. And this is when the escalation spiral has turned upwards and the signals are now pointing to lose-lose. There is in this moment no win-win option possible, and also mediation, and I say this here to all you who are mediators, are no longer like a suitable method of pacification in this conflict. This window of talks and of mediations has unfortunately closed for now, and we can only hope that it will be opened at least a little tiny bit very, very soon. And in the future, however, it will be more important than ever to resume dialogues and promote constructive settlements and negotiation. And not only, I would say, in the big political stage, but also on a small scale, in private, in our communities, our families, our school, and our workplaces. And this is what our mission is, actually, of the International Mediation Campus, to promote peaceful and mutual solutions and to give people access to the tools and methods of mediation, regardless of their origin or their purchase power of their countries. And this is why we have installed a fair price system, for example, where people pay different prices according from where they come from. We also give access to people in crisis areas such as Afghanistan, Iran, and unfortunately now also Ukraine, where we allow people to participate in our training, and not only now in this horrible situation, but also in the future with paying no fees for it. And yeah, we are actually in the process of setting up a Russian-speaking IM campus. And this is not only since last week that we decided this, we are working on this actually since months, and we will be soon launching it. And I can reveal today that Fidana, our speaker today, will be actually take over the leadership of it, and it will be for Russian-speaking people, of course, in Ukraine, in Kyrgyzstan, in Russia, in all countries around. We are also active in other areas of the world in our international training. People from over 55 countries came together already and were trained together with teachers from over 20 countries. But we are also working on local trainings in Turkish, in Farsi. Oh, Turkish, Cecile, our leadership of our Turkish training, is also present today. Fidana and Cecile are also trainers of the International Mediation Campus in Farsi and in Ethiopia and Nigeria. These are all very, very different cultures. And this is my transition today to the topic of today: how to communicate with high context and low context culture in mediation. And the title and the presentation are based on a cultural classification model that was originally developed by Hofstede and colleagues. And it is a way of looking at cultures from the outside and identifying certain common features of the country. It is kind of, in situations where we don't know the culture, or where we come into total unknown environments, it can give us a very good guidance. The categories, however, should not hide the fact that, of course, in every culture, there are individuals with different needs in different situations, and also, of course, with different personalities. And our speaker, Fidana Alieva, has been working for years with different personalities, tense situation, and the influence of culture in mediation. And today we have only this 1 hour. And so she's focusing on just a little piece of the cake of variety and diversity in this really large and complex topic of culture and mediation. Fidana, maybe a few words to you. Fidana is, as I have already said, a trainer of the International Mediation Campus. She's a mediation practitioner in commercial, employment, workplace, family business, and medical malpractice disputes. She's a selected regional mediator for the compliance advisor ombudsman of the World Bank Group. She's awarded with the Weinstein James International Fellowship in the USA. Fidana is the director and founder of the Center for Mediation and Negotiation in the Kyrgyz Republic. She's assigned as the deputy chairman of the International Court of Arbitration there, and many things more, Fidana. The list is long of what you have done. I would say she's a wonderful mediator and a wonderful trainer, and I pass on to you, Fidana.
Thank you, Andrea, for beautiful introduction and on-time words that all of us need at the moment. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. So it's evening here. It's 7 p.m. here. But I'm glad to see our old friends and new ones. You're welcome to IM Campus family. So today's topic is of high interest for myself, because even living in a small country in the heart of Eurasian continent, which is called Kyrgyz Republic, we have more than 80 ethnic groups here. And I am a mediation and negotiation practitioner for 9 years, and I had cases in my practice when different cultures have been involved, or people of the same culture but with different contexts, and we will discuss this such cases also today. So let me share my screen. We will have presentation. I hope you can see it. We have, can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. We have three questions on the agenda. Of course, we will consider high context and low context because it was the main topic of the presentation. Then we will move to cultural distinctions of nonverbal language, because it's also important. And as Andrea has already said, it's just a small piece of the big cake, but I will be glad to sharing it with you. And I would also like to share with you some views on how to deal with different cultures in mediation. I myself encompass 3 cultures in me: Asian, Caucasian, and Slavic culture. So I hope our today's presentation will be interesting to you, and you will also share your views, maybe some of your cases, and you will be welcomed with your questions. So please look at this slide, and I have a question for you. How high context and low context cultures what is wrong here? Or maybe everything is correct. What do you think? You can turn on your mic or you can write your answer in the chat. Just what do you think? Is it okay when we say high context and low context cultures? Are there any views? I would like to attract your attention toward cultures. Do you think it's okay to name it like high context culture or low context culture? What do you think? We have an answer. Context is subjective. Okay, we have one answer. Thank you, Aaron. Any other views? You can turn on your mic just to save time.
Ma'am, hi. I
Hi.
don't really know. That's why I signed up for the training. I don't know if I think about it from a linguistic point of view, it may have to do with language. I'm not sure though. That's why I signed up for the training. I've heard this phrase. I don't know what it means. It may sound a little offensive. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I will come back to our presentation. So theoretically, if you will try to look to different in some different resources, you will find the same title to it: high context and low context culture. We have one more. I didn't know either. That is why I'm here. Thank you. But as for word cultures, this actually maybe sound as a bit of bias. Why? Because from my practice, I can tell you that there are different contexts within one culture. I had some cases, I can give you one example when there were two partners of different gender, but of the same ethnic group. I mean, they were from the same ethnic group, they are from the same environment, and they speak in different contexts. One of them was high contexted, another one was low contexted. So, and I had to translate from Russian into Russian. I had such mediation. So cultures is a bit, when we say, when we approach high context or low context to culture, it can be taken as biased. Communication can be high context or low context. Behavior can be high context or low context. Decision-making can be high context or low context. But in my view, not culture. Even during my trips to foreign countries, I also had a chance to observe when within one ethnic groups, there are people with different contexts. And we will discuss now what is high context and what is low context. And some people think that low context is very bad one and high context is a good one. No, the meaning is different, and I will explain to you. So we have two more in the chat. The contents of a culture may be differentiate. It signifies how important the context is in communication when messages are exchanged among different cultures. Yes, Anuja, thank you. When we're speaking about cross-cultural communication, we should be very careful with the process of communication itself. And I would like to remind those of you who are already familiar with that process, with the element of this process, and to share with those of you who do not know about these elements. There are three main elements: perception, interpretation, and behavior. So perception, it is about how and what we absorb when communicating, how and what we absorb from the message that is conveyed to us. Interpretation is based on our perception of the message. And we behave motivated by interpretation based on the perception. And the interesting thing that all three elements, they are determined by culture. Yes, there are some other things that also influence all these three elements, like environment, professional experience, some family traditions, norm, etc. But culture influences a lot all these three elements. I will give you one real example of negotiations. These negotiations happened between Americans and Japanese businessmen. They had a pre-negotiation session, which took place online and by emails. Then they agreed to meet in Japan to sign a contract. It was expected that they will have two sessions. First session will be devoted just to in-person meeting, to discussions of the subject, and the second session will be just signing of the contract. So Americans arrived, they had the first session, and during the whole session, most of the part Americans spoke, and Japanese very often were saying, okay, okay, okay. And the next day, when Americans arrived to sign the contract, they have been surprised by the fact that Japanese refused to sign this contract. And when Americans asked, so why are you refusing? You said that, you said, okay, 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 yesterday. And they said, we said, okay, meaning that we understand you, we hear you, but our okay did not mean that we accept your offer. And this is also about context. Of course, this is also about designing the process of negotiation, depending on some cultural issues, depending on using negotiation techniques. In this sense, I would devote more time to asking questions than speaking. So it's just a small example. Here is a list of main characteristics of two contexts, but it's not exhaustive. Of course, there are some other characteristics. I hope this list will give you understanding what high context and low context mean and how they are different. So as for low context, visually it looks like direct line below. And in those who use low context, usually they are very direct in their communication. The largest part of the information is conveyed verbally. And usually what is said, that is meant. Quick decision is very important for the representatives of low context. Emotions usually are expressed out. These are the main characteristics of low context. And theoretically, the representatives of low context are the representatives from the countries listed on this slide: United Kingdom, USA, Switzerland, Germany, Canada, Australia. But again, I would like to remind you that within one country, one culture, different contexts can take place. So, but theoretically, here is the list. High context. As for high context, their communication visually looks like a wavy line. Sometimes it can be taken as a beating around the bushes, like hints, using hints. So the language is not direct. The communication is not direct. The largest part of information is conveyed non-verbally by gestures, facial expression. So it's very important to pay attention to non-verbal language. Not only with high context. Usually it's good to pay attention always when you're communicating, because non-verbal language usually comes first before even saying something. That's why it's very important, especially when dealing with high context representatives, to pay attention to non-verbal language. Decision-making requires more time. For example, in cultures and representatives of those cultures who use high context, they, for example, the tea ceremony. which usually preludes, if there are negotiations, it preludes to the negotiation talk. Or in some countries, it can be drinking some other beverages, maybe hot ones, but this is also about high context, not just simply to come and sign the agreement. It's also about small talk. Emotions remain inside. So the representatives of high context, usually they are not such expressive as the representatives of low context. In that sense, usually, not usually, but those who do not know that there are such contexts, and depending on the context, a person can express him or herself directly or indirectly. So when a person expresses himself or herself directly, it can sometimes even offend those who do not know that it is just about context. It's about direct line of communication without any wavy lines. And as for representatives of high context, theoretically, they came from the following countries: China, Japan, Kyrgyz Republic, Kazakhstan, Greece, Russia, and some other countries. So later we will have a small exercise on the context, different contexts, trying to shift different sentences of low context to the high context and high context to the low context. Now I would like to turn to the topic of nonverbal language in cross-cultural negotiation. And what is the main thing we start any negotiation with different cultures, just with people, not with different cultures? Greeting. Greetings is something that helps you build rapport from the very start of even before negotiations start, let's say, before mediation starts. So help me with this. The first picture on this slide, which country uses this nonverbal language when greeting each other?
Thailand.
Any other options?
Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm. Other views? This is Thailand. And the first one is about India. And it is called Namaste, when two palms are placed together and closer to the chest. And the difference with Thailand greetings that usually, this is also like Namaste, but palms, sorry, come closer to the chin. And there is a small, a light nod also. What about the picture at the center of the slide? It is a handshake. And what countries use handshaking?
We do it in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, United States.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, United States, CIS countries, the countries of Commonwealth of Independent States. Okay, the next one, the first picture on the left side, this one.
Japanese.
Korea.
Sorry?
China and Japan.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And usually it's about bowing. So Japanese people, they greet each other by bowing, and it can range from a just nod of the head to the to the deepest one at the waist, depending on the level of respect. What about this picture?
We do this in Turkey.
Yes, it is very close to Arabic countries, to Turkey, to Muslim countries. When after handshaking, this is the second part of the greetings. When after the shaking hands, the right hand put on the heart area, which also shows respect. But as for Muslim countries and Arabic countries are also in this list, there is some peculiarities regarding gender. Greetings depending on gender. For example, it is not welcomed to contact, to physically contact people of different gender. So, but again, for example, in our country, most of the population are Muslims, but we're a secular country, and handshaking is quite normal for females also. But once I had a trip and we had a negotiation, and I was the only representative from Asian countries and the only female. So one of the participants handshaked with all the participants, other participants, but when it was my turn, he was a bit confused looking at me and not knowing what to do. And I just said to him, you can just shake my hand also, it's okay for me. He laughed and did it. So sometimes you need just to be low context and say it directly. And this is a new one. This is a third context that we all had now. It is a COVID context greeting, when people, and it replaces in some situations handshaking, when people touch each other by their elbows. We have something in the chat. Thank you. Cecile, Lisa, thank you all. Now I would like to talk to you with one more gesture, nonverbal gesture, which in many countries is taken as okay, but it can have radically different meanings depending on the country. And we should be very careful when using this sign, because it is used in just common communication, everyday communication, but it is also used in negotiation and mediation. And the sign is that one. It is understood as okay, for example, in my country, in the US and some other countries, but it has, again, radically negative, it can have radically negative meaning in some other countries. For example, in Tunisia, it means I will kill you. In Japan, it is associated with money or asking for finances. In Brazil, sorry, it means buttocks. In Syria, the meaning is go to hell. In France, it means nothing or non-contributing zero. And the list is not exhaustive. There are some other meanings. I know that in German, if I'm not mistaken, it also has a negative meaning. Andrea or Alexandra, maybe you would comment on this somehow.
I'm not
Thank you.
it's not something that is overall speaking. I think it depends a little bit. It can be also like that's good, but it can be also kind of like sexual implication.
Yes,
I think it changed to this or this, and this is very
this one is a circle which is made by pointer and the thumb. And the different is meaning. The meaning is different in many other countries. So usually, for example, in my country, people use this sign, this gesture very often, meaning okay. And sometimes it comes even before a person starts speaking. So in some other countries, it depends, but people use it because there are some resources and you can read even more about the meaning of this gesture. In Kenya, it means fantastic, awesome, you see? So a positive meaning, but even better than just okay. So let's experience, try to understand. Now I will give you some sentences. You will try to understand what is the context. Is it high context or low context? And try to shift from low context to high context, from high context to low context, depending on what the sentence is about. Just a second. before trying to understand the context, try to understand the meaning. And this will help you to understand the context. Just let's try from very simple ones. I love flowers. Just imagine the situation when there is a couple and a wife tells to her husband or to her partner, I love flowers. What does it mean? And what is the slow context? Okay, any other views?
Or maybe it may have different meanings according to how you say it.
Yes, yes. But I just gave an example of the situation, of the context.
I can imagine different women saying the same sentence with different gestures, and it means all the different same. I don't know.
Yes, Alexander, thank you. It can be a hint to buy some. Yes. And usually, at least in my countries, many women say it when they want flowers. I love flowers. So just a simple example, and then we will move to more complex ones. It could be direct statement of preferences. Yes, but I explained you the situation. Yes, it can be understood as I love flowers. Just I love and I love. But when the situation like there is a couple and a wife tells to her partner that she loves flowers, maybe it's about high context, and it means that she wants him to buy some. Okay, let's try some other things. The trash can is full. Also a simple one. High context. Thank you, Alexander. And what is the meaning? Yes, I would like, it's in a very polite, Katerina is very polite saying, I would like you to empty, just take it away, take the garbage away. Yes, thank you. The next one. We need more information. Just imagine this is a situation when you are conducting mediation and one of the parties says that we need more information. How would you interpret it? Low context. And what is the meaning? High context, low context. I'm not feeling comfortable. Can't take a decision yet. Yes. And what is the message? What is the message? When one party says we need more information. Again, it can have different meanings. One of them, they did not convince us, or their offer is not enough. I'm not sure about the decision. So what is the context? High, low? High. Thank you. Let's move further. Sorry, I'm busy today. High context, yes. And what is the message? If to transform it into low context. I don't have time for you. Yes. This is direct message. But again, by some people, it can be taken as a bit offensive, but it's just a message. I don't have time for you. Okay. I will think about your offer. High. Yes. And how to make it low? How to make it more direct? I need time. Okay. I don't want to talk now. I'm busy. Yes, I don't like your offer. Thank you. Thank you for your interest. We have received a lot of applications this year. I think this is one that you all have received at least once in your life. High context, yes. And what does it mean? Sorry, you're not getting the job. Yes, you're not eligible. Yes. The next one. Can we discuss it today? Low. Try to make it high. Do you have time to talk? Yes, this will be the high. I am overwhelmed with so many responsibilities. Yes, it is a really urgent matter for me, for the previous one. So now we have the next one. I am overwhelmed with so many responsibilities. High, yes. I would agree. I would rather agree that it is higher context. So try to transform it to the low one. What is the meaning? What is direct message? Why I have so many work? Let someone else take on the role. Yes, or you could take part of my work. just an option, as an option. Another one. We need money to complete the project. What is the context? We need money to complete the project. Low, yes, thank you. Low. Try to transform it to the high one. How would you say in a high context? We have run out of the budget, yes. We do not have enough resources as an option. We need to rethink the budget, yes. We should consider the budget, thank you. What do you want from me? Quite direct one, yes. What do you want from me? Low, yes. How to make it high? Low. How to make it high? I am listening. Other options? How can I help you? Or some other one? I don't understand you. You expect too much. So you see, in fact, every sentence can be transformed from one context to another one. And maybe now some of you will be a bit conscious about the context you personally use. Maybe some of you use both contexts also. And as a conclusion, I would like to share with you my view on how to deal with different cultures in mediation. First of all, I think the first thing that we need to do in every mediation involving different cultures is to show respect to the culture that is different from your own culture. How? By knowing the basics. just to show that you are familiar, at least with the basics, by greeting, if it does not contradict to the greeting that you use. If you cannot use these greetings, I mean, this, for example, this nonverbal greeting, you can use some common one that is acceptable to you and to the party or to the parties. Another one that I usually share with those who come to my trainings, do not try to be a German or English or Arab if you are not. Some people, when they communicating with the representatives of different culture, or when they go to a foreign country, they try to take this role of being a representative of this different culture, and it doesn't work because it feels artificial. It is not authentic. Be yourself, but get familiar with the basics of this culture, and that will help you to be accepted by the representatives of this culture different to your culture. Do not judge the context by the culture. Again, you can read a lot in different resources about high context and low context, but there are a lot of theories saying that usually context is about culture. It is not about culture. It's within one culture, you can meet different contexts. So do not judge the context by culture. Escape the right, wrong approach when dealing with different cultures. What do I mean? For example, something that can be taken as right in one culture is taken as a wrong thing in your culture. But when you're mediating, it is about your neutrality. It's about your being open. And even if you do not accept it as right thing, it's not about you, it's about them, it's about their situation. You just can work with the situation and deal with their culture, not taking it for yourself. It's not about you, and it's not about transforming to something that is wrong for your culture and for yourself. And what I found useful, and I can do it myself, and I think most of the mediators, they are able to use both contexts. It's very, very helpful when you have cross-cultural negotiations and mediations involving different cultures. Because when you use different contexts in the way you speak, in the way you communicate, you address all the parties, all the people involved in this particular negotiation or mediation. So try to use both contexts, and as you had an opportunity to observe, it's quite possible from this small exercise that we have already done. So that's all from my side. Thank you all for joining, and you are welcome with your questions, comments. Maybe some of you have your own interesting stories to share with others, if they are short one, because we don't have much time. So you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Vidana. And you all can write like your comments also in the chat, and I can, if you want to, Vidana, look at the chat a little bit and read it out to you. Or if you want to share a story, of course, you can open your microphone.
Yes. Thank you, Katerina. Katerina shared that all the examples show how crucial it is in mediation to ask, what do you mean by this? Yes, yes. To understand what is the message. Thank you, was it great? Thank you, Anuja.
Meanwhile, sorry, before people are typing, I really liked the point that you said, don't try to be German if you're not like or German or whatever culture. And I think that this is, I mean, you can, it is good to train your ear to different cultures, but you should always be authentic in who you are, right? I really liked this point to mention.
Thank you, Andrea.
So thought, okay, there is a lot
and
of compliments.
I would like to hear some questions from those who were not familiar with this context before today's webinar, because there were some people. So if you share something about the context, how do you understand them now? So Cecile, you have a question or no?
No, not a question. When you said you can share your experiences you had about this, I remember that once a American lawyer, he was my senior lawyer working in a law firm, and he told me that you Turkish people, you have 1 hour meetings, and in 45 minutes you just talk about, you know, stuff not related with the meeting, and in the last 15 minutes you rapidly make decisions. It's incredible, he said. And I was thinking about that comment when you were explaining high and low context. I think it may be an example for this, because we are trying to understand the people in front of us before making any decision, and it's just a way of communication, maybe special to some countries, some cultures.
Thank you, Cecile. Very on-time example, and I absolutely agree that it shows the difference between contexts, and it also shows how we make decisions based on the context we represent. Very good example. Thank you. Sharon, you're welcome.
Yes, I just wanted to share one example. I was a young executive on a team that we went to Japan to do a joint venture with a company. And I was a senior executive of the team of all men, and I was the only woman. And we were going up the hotel elevator, and I stepped into the elevator first as the team leader, and I was kicked off the elevator by the men and told I would have to take another elevator. And it was a long, you know, it was quite some years ago. I'm sure it's very different now, but that was a big lesson. And I was very insulted and almost, you know, walked out of these very important negotiations for my company. I was so upset. But what we've talked about today is sort of bringing back some quite difficult memories, actually, from a point of view of not understanding high context, low context cultures.
Thank you, Sharon. And you see, it is also, I mean, the context themselves, as well as some cultural norms, they are related, they may be related, or they may be as a consequence of, bias. Bias can be a consequence of some cultural norms. Because again, if we talk about context and about cultures, in some cultures, norms that are right, what I was talking about, right and wrong approach. So something that is wrong for one culture is quite okay for another one. Recently, I have shared my own experience when I was invited by a general manager to mediate a case between two managers, men. And just despite the thing that our country is a secular one, and women are quite active in many different professions. So when I entered the room, one of the parties in my presence said that how she, a woman, could help us to negotiate. It was a bias. But I, as a mediator, know that this bias is a consequence of cultural norm, because he, in his view, and according to his traditions, maybe family traditions, maybe to religion, so a woman cannot be active, and she cannot take the roles of negotiator, mediator, lawyer, etc. But I said, so we can test it if we try, and if you want to try. They agreed, because I decided not to argue with him on that, despite it was a bias. So they agreed. The conflict has been settled in one session. And after the session, he asked me, so share your secret. How did you do that? And my answer was simple. In mediation, I'm not a woman, I am a mediator. So this was the way I approached his bias. I also had an opportunity to give the power back to him and to the other party in mediation, but it's a bit different technique. But so very related things, context, cultures, bias. So, but when you understand the context, it makes you think that it is a context. It's not, the person has not meant to offend me. It's okay in his culture, or it's okay in his context, in his understanding. And it makes communication, it eases the communication itself. Any other examples, comments? I will read.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The problem is always to have a sufficient knowledge of a culture to catch if a speech is high or low context. Yes, absolutely. You always can have a chance, you can take time and to get familiar with basics of any culture or a context. But as for context, if you know theoretically what this or that context mean, to know what is the context of this particular person, you need to communicate. And only then you will understand and design the line of communication depending on the context. I think we have to well distinguish rudeness and culture. Agree with you? Yes, but again, sometimes this line which differentiates rudeness from culture is very, very thin. And again, if you know the context, if you are familiar with the context, and if you have some knowledge about the culture, it helps you to differentiate those things. And of course, if it's about rudeness, you just you don't have to allow other people to be rude with you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you. Thank you all for joining.
We are going, this is a recording. We recorded the webinar, and we're going to put it on our website. So we're not sharing the presentation itself, but you can rewatch the webinar. Or Alex already sent the link to our other webinars that we have recorded. And there is kind of a huge library already with all nice topics around mediation, I would say.
And you are all welcome to our other very interesting webinars with our other experts, trainers, and we have wonderful negotiation and conflict resolution course within IM Campus. You're welcome to join.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vidana, for mentioning this. We have like masterclasses coming up in the next month. And these are short classes of 8 hours, but we're like, of course, there is more time for discussion, for practicing. And these are for mediators, already trained mediators, or people who are negotiators and very interested in some special topics, I would say, around mediation and negotiation. And then, of course, we have a lot of webinars coming up every 2-3 weeks, depends on different topics. And we just started a new mediation class, International Mediation Campus class. And the next one is in April. We'll start in April. And yeah, watch out for our local classes. They're coming soon, I think in the second half of this year. We're going to have some mock mediations that you can like observe professional mediators mediating. This is a new format that we're going to establish just because so many people have asked us for where can we watch mediation. So this will be, I'm going to announce that when when the first dates are out there. Thank you so much, Vidana, for this wonderful presentation